Welcome back, everybody. It's Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. Born on this date in 1975, Olympic gold medalist in the 4x100 freestyle relay, Scott Tucker of Birmingham. He swam for Auburn and then won gold at the Atlanta Games in 96. Today is Ash Wednesday, the first day of Lent. In the wake of Fat Tuesday, it's time to get your mind right and realize you're just a really fortunate cloud of Alabama dust. Today's also Pluto Day. That's the dwarf planet, not the cartoon dog. According to NASA, Pluto was first spotted on this day in 1930 and hasn't even made it halfway around the sun in all the time since. A full revolution around the sun for Pluto takes 248 Earth years, which means one Pluto year ago, it was 1778, the year we run the British out of Philly. That's a long year. Imagine youngins on Pluto waiting for Christmas. Hey, let's talk about the Mardi Gras finale, the latest on Tommy Tuberville's residency issue, and the passing of an Alabama original, George Barber Jr. My name's Ike Morgan, and we're down in Alabama.
Fox News is now streaming live on Fox One. When news breaks, we don't just report it. We go beyond the headlines to get the full story. Get live coverage, in-depth analysis, and perspectives from the voices you trust, all in one place. Whether you're at home or on the go, stay connected to the stories shaping our world. Stream Fox News on Fox One. Download today.
Mobile bid adieu to Mardi Gras on Tuesday, reports AL.com's Lawrence Specker. Now, once again, the Order of Myths parade put a period or an exclamation point on the season's festivities. That parade includes folly, chasing death, and beating on him with gilded pig bladders. Now, that may sound like something you don't want to be held accountable for having seen, but it actually symbolizes that today, well, yesterday, when they were doing it, we're enjoying life, even while facing some very sobering reality. So, yay. The chase takes place around a broken column, which represents our fragile little lives. The pig bladder thing may have at some point signified the warding off of evil spirits, but I'll also point out that early footballs were made from inflated pig bladders. So if we may take some liberties, I think that we can say that here in Alabama, we celebrate our zest for life by beating on the Grim Reaper with a football. I don't know. Think of it however you wish. After the last day of Mardi Gras, I often share a couple of my favorite signs from the Comic Cowboys parade, and I haven't gotten fired over it yet. The Comic Cowboys is the group that puts together the satirical signs lampooning local, state, and national politics and other news events. They often address at least a dozen or so of the stories we've carried right here over the past year. Now, I realize that some of the signs can be really offensive to some people. Am I ever offended by the signs? Absolutely. Sometimes I think they're a terrible idea. Do I look forward to possibly having my delicate sensibilities challenged? You dang right I do. So before I even viewed all the signs, I decided I would pick a most offensive sign and a best overall sign. Lo and behold, the Comic Cowboys weren't very offensive this year. The parade might have fallen victim to this weird political climate we're in, and they stayed pretty local to the Mobile area with many of the signs. But it doesn't mean they didn't give us anything to work with either. For most offensive, I'm going to go with a sign that featured an Alexander Shannara billboard because it involves actual real-life deaths that have taken place. Now, the scene was an exploding boat. The text read, "Injured on a fishing boat?" ? With a huge billboard above the Gulf waters that read, "Call me, Venezuela." See, sometimes there's humor in something, and you still probably should have just walked on by. For the best overall, I picked the one that said, this also, by the way, could be the second most offensive, but for best overall, I picked one that said, PBS funding cuts hit hard, with a Tickle Me Elmo doll offering tickles for $2 and a slap and tickle for $2.50. Can't somebody start a GoFundMe for Elmo or something? I don't have to think about that. Republican gubernatorial candidate Ken McFeeters has said that an Alabama Republican Party steering committee wouldn't even hold a hearing on his challenge to opponent Tommy Tuberville's eligibility to run. He also said the committee blamed him for not including documented evidence when he filed his challenge, but that he planned to present such at the hearing. That never happened. So now, reports AL.com's Mike Kaysen, McFeeters is sharing what he's found on Tuberville's residency status. Now, remember, to run for governor or lieutenant governor in Alabama, one has to have lived in the state for 7 years leading up to Election Day. And Tuberville said that he was living here by 2019. Now, that means that before he was even running for the U.S. Senate, he moved from a multi-million-dollar Florida beach home to live in a modest home that was purchased in his son's and wife's names in Alabama, a state that charges up to 5% in income tax. Florida does not have an income tax, so it would have been a costly move for the retired college football coach. And that has had people looking at Tuberville's Alabama residence claims a little sideways, going back to his 2020 Senate primary, when opponent Jeff Sessions referred to him as Florida Man. McFeeters is an insurance agent from Pelham. He's been calling for Tuberville to release his state income tax returns, since a resident of the state would have to do so, or this would be a revenue department issue. Tuberville's campaign has called McFeeters' efforts ridiculous and desperate. It also claims Tuberville has provided definitive proof to the state GOP. McFeeters is pointing to more examples of what he says is evidence that Tuberville is a lot newer to Alabama than he claims. I'll quote McFeeters, quote, "The United States Senate reimburses senators for flights to and from their home residence. In 2021, Tuberville submitted 9 flights listed as going home, and all 9 flights were to Florida, not Alabama." End quote. Now, previous reporting from the Alabama Political Reporter tells a similar story of Tuberville's flight and expensing habits, mostly taking him in and out of Destin. Also from McFeeters, quote, "A Carfax report on his personal truck shows that in 2024, all recorded services, that's 4 of them, were done in Destin, Florida. Then, suddenly and suspiciously," still McFeeters' words, "after announcing his run for governor in 25, his vehicle starts getting serviced in Auburn, Alabama. The primary is May 19th. And the former owner of Barber's Dairy, real estate investor, and the namesake of Barber Motorsports Park and Museum has passed away, reports AL.com's William Thornton. George Barber Jr.'s dad founded the dairy, and he took over and ran it until selling it to Dean Food Company in 1998. Meantime, he also had a career racing Porsches in the 1960s and started to buy and restore classic cars, then motorcycles. Barber built what is believed to be the largest motorcycle collection in the world, and then built a museum to show them off. That museum was on Birmingham's south side until Barber opened his 880-acre complex near Leeds in 2003. The museum now holds more than 1,800 motorcycles, and the 2.3-mile, 17-turn racetrack has hosted Grand Am, Pirelli World Challenge, Vintage Racing Series, AMA Superbike, and IndyCar Series events. Clearly, Barber was one to think outside the box. He was the man who commissioned the Lady in the Lake and the Lady in the Bay sculptures from artist Mark Klein that lie partly submerged at Barber Motorsports Park and Barber Marina in Alberta. George Barber Jr. was 85 years old. Thank y'all so much for listening to us. We'll be back in the morning. Until then, come by and see us anytime you can on the internet at al.com.
Wrestling with spam calls, phishing emails, or annoying scam texts? It's happening because your private information is being sold across the web. PCmatic D-List offers a free exposure scan showing which data brokers and people search sites are selling your data. Then, with a basic upgrade, PCmatic D-List completes the opt-out process to get your private information delisted. Stop the annoyance and safeguard your private information now. Visit www.pcmatic.com today.